My name is Mike, and this is my remarkable cat, Bub, also known as Lil BUB to her fans. CatCon is pretty much the highlight of the year for Bub and myself. Bub's always a star, but at CatCon, she's like the Whoopi Goldberg of The View, the Dennis Rodman of basketball, the Ace Frehley of Kiss. Sorry, I'm just giving you a few to work with. None of them are good, so don't use any of those. Sorry, do it again. CatCon is a chance for us to connect with our fans and to let people know what Bub is up to. This year, we're thrilled to announce that Bub has finally partnered with a pet food company. Bub and I have been advocates for not just special needs pets, but homeless pets from the very beginning. And that's part of the reason we're so excited to partner with Halo Pet Food, who not only make really good food, but they genuinely and truly care about animals. Halo gives up to 10 times more than most other pet food companies. In fact, every purchase you make of Halo food, at least one bowl gets donated to a homeless pet in a shelter. What makes Halo special is the meat used in all their foods is whole meat, no rendered meat meal, and it all comes from small, sustainable farms. The benefit of whole meat is that it's the easiest to digest and it's the best for your pet. Bub and I don't want to endorse any food or product that we don't use ourselves and that we don't believe in. And it was an opportunity to encourage people to purchase this food for all the right reasons. We are thrilled to be partnered with Halo, who share the same passion for pets and the same mission that we do. Right, Bub? She said right. That's great, Bub. You did a good job.
Good job, Bub. That's actually a great transition into our next segment. It includes cats like Lil BUB and Lil BUB herself. Lil BUB is cute, but behind that cuteness, it's a more serious topic. That's cats who have special needs, like Bub. A lot of people don't realize that many celebrity cats, including Bub, they're also special needs cats. And if they hadn't been adopted by the folks who helped make them famous, there's a good chance that they wouldn't have made it. We have a panel of people and a couple of cats here today to cover this subject. I'll bring them out one by one in just a second. But I want to ask everyone to keep your applause to a minimum and keep quiet because we do have a couple of cats on stage and we don't want to scare them. So please quietly welcome our first guests, Mick Szydlowski and Oskar the blind cat. Next we have Simone Tipton. Simone's daughter Scarlett lost an arm to cancer when she was a baby, and so the family adopted a cat named Doc, who'd lost a front leg in an accident. I assigned a story about these two when I was at Catster, and it just, what they've done is so remarkable, and they're such happy people, you won't believe it. Next we have Michael Nielsen and Mikala Jensen. Their cat, Monty Boy, their very cute cat, Monty Boy, he has a chromosomal abnormality that affects the shape of his nose. Rounding out the panel, we have Mike Bridavsky and Lil BUB. Moderating this panel today is one of my favorite people on the planet, Scott Stulen. Scott is the creator and producer of the original Internet Cat Video Festival, which started in 2012 at the Walker Art Center in Minneapolis. They were expecting about 500 people. 10,000 showed up. Anyway, Scott is an artist, a writer, and a musician. He's currently the director at the PHILBROOK Art Museum in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Scott will help us all understand just why they put the special in special needs. Scott?
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for starting out CatCon with us and this panel. I'm delighted to be up here with these special cats and very special people. And thank you, Keith, for the introduction. We're blessed to start today with some inspiring stories, some special cats, and some equally special humans. Not only are our panelists helping their families and their cats, they're also having a broader impact, much beyond that, which we'll hear from them shortly. So I can't think of a better way to kick off CatCon than having this panel here. So as a reminder, and you've all actually been so good about this already, but we want to keep the quiet for our cat friends here on stage. So you're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're going to want to cheer, but just do it quietly, okay? I know you can do it. So here's our format of our panel today. We're going to start out, brief introduction, which I'm doing now, and then each of our guests here are going to tell their unique story. So we'll go down the line, and then after that, I'll come back out. We'll do a panel discussion with them, just a simple conversation, and then there'll be some time at the end for you to ask a few questions of your own. So first off, and Keith did a little of this already, I wanted to explain briefly why I'm here. As you mentioned, my name is Scott Stulen, and I had an idea back in 2012 to do a cat video festival at the Walker Arts Center in Minneapolis, and well, turns out that people do like watching cat videos together, so that became a thing. It also turned into something beyond that. So now it's been in 200 different cities, and it spawned all sorts of smaller festivals all throughout the country. I've moved on too, so I'm now the director and president of the PHILBROOK Museum of Art in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And what's unique about PHILBROOK is that we have an Italian villa in Tulsa, Oklahoma, like who knew, and 25 acres of formal gardens. But our most popular exhibit is we have garden cats that live on our campus. So it just turns out I ended up at a museum where cats are one of their main exhibits and attractions. Now, one of the kind of interesting things, too, is all this history that I've had in the last few years of dealing with cats. My family haven't had cats of our own until recently. We have several staff members at the museum that actually work for rescues, and I allow them to have a lot of the kittens, when they're trying to find homes, actually stay in the museum. So they're in the museum, and staff comes down. It's the best release after a stressful meeting to go down and play with the kittens. And we've also found a lot of homes for those kittens through the museum. And we've got two little boys. We have a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they fell in love with two brothers that were a rescue from a recent, they're at a construction site near the museum. They were found in the bucket of an excavator. And so we adopted 2 cats. So we now have 2 cats of our own at home along with our boys. So let's jump into our panel. And we're delighted to have each of our guests with us this evening, and I'm going to start with Mick, and I'm going to hand you the clicker here. I'm going to tell your story, and we'll just kind of go down the line.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for being here and hearing our stories. So I'm Mick Szydlowski, and this is Oskar. I'm not sure how long he's going to stay on my lap because he is an explorer. The picture you see is actually of Oskar when I adopted him on the first day that I had him. He was adopted from a little farm in Iowa in July of 2011. So he's 6 years old. Oskar is unique in the sense that he is completely blind from birth. He has a condition that's called microphthalmia, which basically means that his eyes never fully develop for genetic reasons. I found him kind of on a fluke. It was really a mission to buy a musical instrument that I found on Craigslist. But the farmer had the kitten that he could not find a home for. He was living outside at the time, and this was my first encounter with a blind or quote-unquote special needs cat. So in my mind, the best thing to do was to bring him home. I had one other cat at home at the time named Klaus, and he became an city slicker urban dweller. But I very quickly learned that Oskar is absolutely capable of anything that he puts his mind to. He's very adventurous. That's the spirit that he has. And he can accomplish pretty much anything that any other cat does. Climb the tallest thing in the house. Here in the picture, you can see him on top of the kitchen counter, and he can actually jump to the top of the kitchen counter and jump back down. He's very vocal, so here looks like he's yawning, but he's probably singing. And he's very musical, as I told you. It was I found him looking for a musical instrument, and there he is. Back on the farm, he was actually called Ray, probably after Ray Charles. So there he is with old Fender Rhodes. And skateboarding, He does it all. You know, I don't really put any effort into teaching him tricks or training him. This is just the nature of Oskar, and I think it's exceptional. A couple more photos of him. We've been active online with videos such as this and photos since October of 2011. We started out with YouTube videos, and a lot of people, after they just read the captions and they found out that he was a blind cat, wanted to find out more about what life has been like with a blind cat, since it's not an uncommon thing to find. And that's his human sister, Fern, or Faye. And this is what put him on the map right here. This to a blind cat is like a laser pointer. But yeah, this may be the last clip, but yeah, quite honestly, you know, living with Oskar and sharing these pictures and videos showcases that he is, in so many ways, a normal cat. All right, I think it's off to you now.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Oh, am I on? Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. My name's Simone Tipton. This is my cat, Doc. She had an amputation of her right arm when she was only about a week or two old, they think. A couple of friendly people that were walking by found her on the side of the road. They think that she was trying to keep warm in a car engine, and her arm got stuck in the belt of the engine. This is all just a guess, though, because they found her and she was near a car. So they took her to the animal shelter, and they totally thought she was not going to make it. She, as you can see, had little tubes coming out after they did the amputation, and they saved her life when they thought that she wasn't going to make it even through the surgery. And the reason that we got her was because my daughter has a very similar story. She was born with cancer, and she lost her arm when she was 11 months old. Her left arm, her shoulder, her clavicle, scapula, and all of the surrounding skin, tissue, muscles, everything on the left side of her torso. So because of that, we wanted to find her a companion that would be kind of understanding, I guess, as much as a cat could be. And she just adores cats, so it ended up being a win-win in our situation. So after 21 surgeries and months of chemo, she is now, October will be 3 years cancer-free. And that is so amazing to even say.
Oh, sorry.
So that's kind of just the backstory of why we got Doc in the first place. They are inseparable. They cuddle on the couch all the time. As you can see, she loves playing with her. And that was only the first couple of months that we got her. We've had her for 2 years now. So it has been a fun ride for sure. But she's totally mischievous. She doesn't act like she's even missing a leg. As you can see, she's trying to pull my tea bag right out of the teacup. And falls asleep on toys, and she's the biggest cuddle bug in the whole world. So we are just totally blessed to have her, and here's our little happy family. This is actually the first day that we met her, so it's been 2 years since then, so it's been a long ride, but it's really exciting.
Thank you, and thank you for such a nice story.
Yeah.
Hey everyone.
Hi.
This is Mikala. I'm Michael. We are flown in from Denmark. It will be tomorrow, yesterday evening. Got a little delayed, about 30 hours delay. So we are a little stressed, and we are now sitting here, and we're extremely happy to be here at CatCon. It's our first time here in the States also, and it's so lovely to see so many cat-loving people. So we have Monty Boy. He is born with a chromosome abnormality. We got him 4 years ago. It all started with me. I'm not born a cat person. I really didn't like animals. I hate their dear fur everywhere, and I used the roller to get it away, and I was like, no way, I'm a perfectionist. I don't need hair anywhere, right? So But then 4 years ago, Mikala, she was browsing a local cat shelter's website. Mikala has loved cat
Yeah, all of my life.
all of your life,
so
yeah.
it's like,
And we saw Monty, and we thought he was extremely adorable and cute looking. As you can see, he has a little bit more space between his eyes. So we just had to go see him, but we were not going to adopt any cat,
yeah,
right?
and Michael, and Michael actually told me, like, he looked me in the eyes, like, okay, we can totally see Monty we can just meet him, but it will only be like, we are not taking him home, we will not adopt him. We don't, you know, he was really serious with me, but
Yeah.
that didn't happen, you know.
Actually, when we went there, and yeah, I think you should tell the story.
Then we went into the room with all the cats, and Monty was in the middle of the room. They have these cages for the cats, like, but if they can get along, they could just walk around between each other. And Monty actually got picked on, like, from the other cats. He has like no fear, so he just walked around.
The other cats were sitting aside the walls, and they were hissing at him, and he was very playful. So.
And Michael just like picked him up. He just walked that right through him and just picked him up and held him in his arms like a baby. And you don't do that with a cat you don't know. So it's like, I was just like looking outside. What is he doing? Like, what are you doing? You will end up getting your arm scratched and all that. But Monty, but it was so like, it was so meant to be, because Monty just laid there on his back, and it's so weird, but he was just looking Michael in the eyes, kneaded with his paws in the air, and slow blinked at Michael. And that moment was just like amazing. So
something very special happened there.
It was like magical.
And I completely ended up being a cat person.
Yeah.
So
So Michael looked at me like, okay.
So
we have to take him home.
We could not leave without him, right?
Yeah.
So as you can see here, some pictures of how this was the way I holded him at the shelter also. And as you can see in one of the pictures with the bow ties, we have this special bond. When we got home, Monty was he's very sensitive. I think it's something with the chromosomal abnormalities. He's extremely sensitive. If we play some melancholic music or so, he will tend to go lay in the litter box. So he is,
really.
So the first night I lay with him on my breast, and I think that we bonded very much.
He slept on Michael's breast the entire night. So that was how it all started.
And that's 4 years ago. If someone had told me back then I would be sitting here today, I would have laughed at them. And calling them mad.
Yeah, and you know what? Right now, 4 years ago, Michael used to brush the hair off with the lint rollers all the time, and now he will just inhale Monty's hair when he kisses him all the time. And now when we go out for dinner, and I'm like, okay, shouldn't you just use the lint rollers? But Michael's just like, no, let's just go out. Hair everywhere.
So, but then again, what we have a cat with a chromosome abnormality. We don't know quite yet what it actually is. We have been doing a lot of research on it, but the bottom line is that this chromosome abnormalities, it became very clear to us very quick that it would cause some difficulties. And today Monty has some kind of asthma, he has some renal issues, he tends to pee in his sleep, it's called incontinence.
Yeah, incontinence,
And so there are these issues, and it can seem like a big mouthful. It came in steps, so we got used to it, and it's 1000% worth it, because what is this thing with this chromosome abnormality? We have talked with others having cats, having the same condition, is that the cat will stay like a kitten in all the good ways, and the cat will be extremely forgiving. If we give Monty a pill, he will not run under the couch and hide and hate us for an hour. He will love us and completely forgive us all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he has a really special personality.
So one thing I think that is very great takeaway from today is, this condition will cause some issues, some difficulties, but also remember that these conditions also cause some things that are very great, some enhancement of the great qualities.
Yeah.
He is such a loving little boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I love him so much. So.
Yeah. You miss him.
I miss him right now. I have never been away from Monty more than 2 days, and now I need to stay here. So it's very hard for me also. He will lie like this on his back between my legs all night.
Yeah.
So.
And pee, and you know what? I'm so happy. I'm loving my washing machine because Monty pees in his sleep, so we have
From
like
time to time.
Yeah, so we have like 6 blankets we will change around with. So, but it's okay. It's all worth it.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
you will want to talk about
But I don't know how much time we have left.
No,
but,
just
you
do
know,
it.
Yeah,
Do it anyway.
I will do it. Yeah. The message of being perfect, no matter how you are or what you look like, actually came from me growing up with my little brother having autism, and I always feel like I'm getting very emotional. But I always felt like I had to protect him because he got a lot of, he got beaten up in school, and so it was kind of hard. And so when we adopted Monty and he just went viral on the internet, it came very clear to me that we had to tell the world about the message of being perfect, no matter how you are and what you look like, because my little brother is perfect and I love him so much. So that is the message.
That is the
very
big
important.
universal message that we try to spread.
So
I'm not perfect, but awesome,
Yeah.
as Monty says.
yeah, and that's totally fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that was it.
I think that was
I don't
it.
know about the
This
pictures.
seems to, I pressed the play button, and it shows that it should
perfect.
be Mike Szydlowski. Yeah. Thank you.
She heard you. Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be on this panel with everyone here, to finally meet you guys, and to see you guys again. A couple things. This is my cat, Lil BUB, in case you didn't know. And then she hasn't pooped in a while, so she might, well, hopefully she won't poop on stage. But if she does, it'll be all over the news. It's travel. I don't know if any of you get constipated traveling, but Bub does. Also, she seems to be fine, but sometimes she gets nervous around other cats. Just letting you guys know that if she does hiss or something, that's the only reason why. And so let me tell you a little bit about Bub. She was my 5th cat, and I adopted her in 2011. She was 8 weeks old. She weighed half a pound. I never planned on having 1 cat, but at this point in my life, I already had 4. And for that reason, even despite moving into a new apartment where my other cats lived in my recording studio, I was like, oh, now I won't just wake up with, have to scrape cat fur out of my mouth. Like 2 days after moving into this apartment, my friend sent me a text with a picture, and they said, you got to check out this cat. And so I did have to check out this cat because she looked amazing, like a little gizmo. But similar to your story, I was like, I can't have another cat. This is a long story, so I'll make it shorter. I went over there, I picked her up. I couldn't believe that this creature existed. She sat right here, she started purring, and then I took her home. That's basically it. Now this photo, I can't even tell what it is. Oh, I think it's because it's a video, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, okay, let's play the video. This was Bub, like the first week I got her. I have small hands too, so you can really see how small she is. Oh. So that's long before she was famous. I obsessively took video of her for one reason, and that is because I couldn't believe she existed and I needed proof. This is her. This is one of her most iconic photographs, and it was turned into her first T-shirt. Long before, not long, but even before she became famous, it was sort of a joke. Everyone was so into her, all my friends, that we pretended like she was famous to the point of making T-shirts. And my friend David made T-shirts of his cat, Smoosh, who was also so great that we thought Smoosh was the local celebrity too, and we did all this stuff. And that photo was, so that's Bub when she was about, I would say 10 months old. And then she did become famous. So what happened was someone suggested I start a blog. I'd never had a blog. I call it the Bub blog. Super proud of that name. And it was just for fun. It was like silly. And then what was funny, we had like 5 followers on Tumblr. And then it was funny, Roscoe. That's my son, Roscoe. He'll probably interrupt me. Is he still here? Oh, maybe not. Maybe that's someone else laughing at me. Thank you. And so then she had like 500 followers, and it was really bizarre, and people would ask her questions, and it was inevitable. I mean, the term on the blog was the most amazing creature on the planet, and I truly believed it. I couldn't believe, and this is before I really knew much about her internally, and I guess I skipped the part where I brought her home, and my vet said, and the reason I brought her home was that she'd been in 2 or 3 other homes, and people were just afraid. She was so small, she clearly looked like she needed some kind of help and that she probably wouldn't last very long. Her eyes were on the side of her head, and she had a weird little beak with a little scab on it, and but she was full of life, and my vet said, this is the weirdest cat I've ever seen in my life. I'm not sure, but I can almost guarantee that there's so much unique about her on the outside, and I can tell you she's very small. 1/2 pound at 8 weeks is crazy tiny. She has polydactylism. She has an extra toe on every paw, which is, polydactylism is rare, but having it on every paw is very rare, so 6 in the front, 5 in the back. Her teeth never grew in. I used to say she was born without teeth, and then I realized that we're all born without teeth. I learned that once I had kids. I was like, oh. And then, let's see, there's so much. Her lower jaw is underdeveloped. It wasn't until she was about 1 year old that her tongue started sticking out. Her eyes are like 3 times as big as they should be for her body. She's 4 pounds, and there was all this stuff about her. We did tests, and internally she was totally fine, and her spirit soared like a flaming flying eagle. And so anyways, this photo went viral at a time that was very difficult for me. I didn't know what viral meant. I was never really into the internet. I didn't know what a meme was. I still don't really know what it is. But apparently they exist of my cat. Okay, yeah. Is that you? It sounds like you. And then she got really famous. They made a documentary about her, and they is Vice, and then Robert De Niro held her, and then she wrote a book, and then she made a record. And then she started the very first national fund for special needs pets called Lil BUB's Big Fund with the ASPCA. And we have, through the fund alone, we have raised over $300,000 for special needs pets. And I think at this point, between money raised for shelters, Bub has raised well over $500,000. Really could have used that money, Bub, come on. And then the whole point is that she has special needs, and everyone here has special needs pets and stories, and obviously the panel's about this, but this is a little bit about Bub's main issue is during all this, one day I came home and she couldn't walk at all. She couldn't move. And she was seemingly healthy until I came home and found her not moving. So Bub was almost completely immobile. In case anyone can't read, by the age of, specialists reported that there was no treatment and it was only going to get worse fast. So this is Bub, actually a little after I found her immobile, and this is basically how she got around. She couldn't move her front legs almost at all, and she just pushed herself around. It sucked. And then we discovered a device called the Assisi loop from a fan. And that's her cheering herself on. And we used this device, and remarkably, after trying a lot of stuff, this really almost instantly made a difference. It literally instantly made a difference. And she started to walk, and then this is our book tour in 2013, and then I saw her run for the first time since she was maybe a few months old. And then at my in-laws, we were upstairs playing cards, and she didn't want to be downstairs, so she just climbed up 15 stairs. And then we opened up some yogurt on a couch, and then saw her jump, so we tried again, videoed it. Look at that. That's like me jumping on top of this building. And then this is at my parents' house. They like red, just warning you. Here comes Trudy. Oh my God. And the way we got her to do that is food. And then this is actually after she had surgery on her elbow when she broke it. We took her outside to do a simple video, and she ran like that. It was crazy. Good job, Bud.
Thank you, everybody. You didn't need me at all. This is great. So I can keep us on time. I'm going to jump right to the core of some of the questions here and skip over one. But what I think is, what's interesting here is we have, with Oskar and with Doc, is we have animals have some physical challenges, and then with Monty and Lil BUB is there's some genetic and physical challenges there too, which presents some different things. I mean, everything from really acting mostly like a normal cat to some things that are a little bit more unique. So maybe I think what would be good for people to know is just like what the reality is day to day. In some case, it's not that different. In some cases, it's quite a bit different. So maybe just starting with you, Mike, would you mind speaking a little bit to kind of what it means taking care of Bub and what it's meant going forward, and then maybe we can just kind of go down the line.
Sure. When I adopted Bub, I dove into it knowing that she would probably have some issues and not knowing what they would be. To this day, 6 years later, I still don't know what may come next. Her mobility issues, it turned out, were caused by a very rare, exceptionally rare disease in cats. In fact, Bub is the only cat in recorded history to ever have been diagnosed with osteopetrosis, also known as stone bone disease, where her bones get thicker and harder as she grows older, and they sort of get deformed and twisted. When she was a year old and she couldn't move, we got x-rays done, and my vet was astounded because we couldn't even see a marrow cavity. It was just these hard white bones. And thanks buddy. There's no information about this disease at all, so we were actually presented with a giant question mark. And it doesn't get any harder than that because you saw how she was moving, and that was sort of when everything was getting crazy. We were getting book deals and all this stuff, and all I cared about was the health of my cat. And that definitely makes things even harder to make a decision, and obviously I didn't know if this was the life for her. She couldn't move, like what was it? So I was considering, putting her down, and it was the hardest thing. And so, that's the hardest decision you're ever going to be faced with your cat. But you have to take things one step at a time and do everything you can. So we started with Reiki. I didn't believe in any of this stuff, but I didn't care. I was going to try whatever I could, and I saw the light come back into Bub's eyes, and then we discovered the loop. So obviously mobility is a big challenge with little Bub, but she's special needs. Things come up all the time, and I always say this, every cat is special needs, and if your cat isn't special needs, then it probably at some point will be. So you just have to be there for your pets just like you are with your children. And I started an emergency fund for Bub from the beginning, and we've used it for sure. But she's also incontinent, like Monty, and I learned how to get her to pee. So it's just like a dog. So I take her to a litter box, I can get her to pee. I know how to get her to poop. It's weird, I have to tickle her butt, But that's what you gotta do for your cat when you know she's gotta go. And she can't get around as well, and I can tell by the way her tail twitches, Bub's got to go poop, or by the way she looks at me, she wants food. And so it's like this amazing connection you have with your pet. And so, like you guys said, special needs pets, they're a lot of work, and you got to be prepared, and you got to be ready for heartbreak, and you got to be ready to do whatever it takes to take care of your pet, and you got to put away money, and you got to do all this stuff. But the way they repay you is there's nothing quite like it.
Thank you, Mike. Does anybody else want to chime in on that? Go
I'll
ahead.
chime in.
Yeah.
I'll say that I'm actually kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum, but there's not much that I have to do in terms of special care for Oskar, but it's an issue of setting up the right environment for him at home, making sure that there is consistency with the layout of the place, you know, teaching young children not to slam doors and do things that probably startle him more than they would to a, you know, a sighted cat. But really, to me, the biggest thing was kind of the idea of what it may be like living with a special needs cat before I encountered Oskar, and I had kind of that societal prejudice, I guess, that he would in some way not have a good quality of life, and that I would be cleaning up messes all the time, and I felt a little bit of that, oh, you know, poor, you know, he's a poor thing, kind of pity that was really unfounded.
Well, you opened up the door about kids. Let's go there. So, because I think this is interesting. We've talked about this with many of you before we even came out. So, Simone, talk a little bit about like how, you know, adopting Doc and how much it helped in your daughter's recovery, but also I think an extension of that of having toddlers and cats, which I think is another thing that really applies to a lot of people here.
Yes. Well, when we first adopted Doc, it was interesting because we had never encountered a three-legged cat before, or any animal for that matter. So we were interested to see how she would get around and if it would hinder her ability to do things, and it's actually the exact opposite. We have an older cat as well. She's not old, but she's, I think, 5 now, and she'll just lay there and there'll be like a fly buzzing around and she won't do anything about it, and Doc will jump up and catch it with one paw in the air, and I look at our other cat and I'm like, are you kidding me? This cat's got one arm that she can do that with, and this one's like, whatever. So it's been interesting to see that there isn't anything that can hold her back, and that is exactly the reason why we got her in the first place. So that our daughter could have something that she looks at and sees, well, if this cat missing an arm can do everything, I can do everything. And so that's kind of been the basis for our reasoning for why we adopted Doc in the first place. And it's done exactly that. They bond in ways that I know she wouldn't be able to bond with just a regular 4-legged cat, but they tackle things together. Doc loves to play, and she loves to play fight, and it's the funniest thing in the world because she still has a bit of a shoulder bone. So when you're messing with her, she'll get you with the arm that's not there. And the first time I was like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? But it's so funny because Scarlett thinks it is the funniest thing in the world. And so they have that, you know, in common. This is my cat because she doesn't have an arm like I don't have an arm. And, you know, just that she has that is such a wonderful thing. But like you had said, talking about children with cats, or animals for any that matter, you have to be gentle, you have to be patient, especially with young kids and toddlers. We got Doc when Scarlett was just over 2. So she was really small for getting a cat and introducing a cat to a new environment, but we had already had a cat prior to her being born. And a lot of demonstration, I think, is the main thing, showing them how to be gentle. Because when you just say gentle to a 2-year-old, they're like, I don't know what that word means. So, you know, we did a lot of holding Scarlett's hand and, you know, showing her this is what gentle means. And it really just comes down to demonstrating it for them. This is how you treat a cat. This is okay, cuddling. Don't pull the cat's tail. Don't touch the cat's butthole because that's gross. You know, it's a lot of patience, as it is with kids anyway, but it definitely, you know, you just got to work on it with them and make sure that, you know, the cat feels safe, you know, the animal feels safe, and the child is learning at the same time.
Does anybody else want to add to the child advice?
Well, when I talk about the special needs pets, you know, and like they're a lot of work, and I was a single guy with a special needs pet. I was like, oh man, you know, Bub's a lot of work. And it was stressful, like when new things would come up, like, oh man, this whole house is covered in cat pee. How do I deal with this? Like, this is stressful. When you have like a super healthy baby, it's like 20 times more work than a special needs cat. So, and so I can't imagine, you know, like, so basically you can do it, you know, but you also have to go into it knowing it's like a little more work than, like my other cats, like I've had them for like 15 years, and I just like say hi to them, give them food, and they sit on me, and that's it. That's nothing. There's never been anything else that I've had to do. So yeah.
Mick, is there anything you want to add to that at all? Or?
I think the best method that my wife incorporated, that she learned being what they call a beach naturalist, is teaching kids to pet cats with one finger, using one finger, because the one thing that toddlers always have dirty, sticky, wet hands, and if they grab the fur, clumps are coming out. So, now that I watch pet dogs at the park, it's always, like a very gentle one finger approach, and you know that they can't get into trouble. But yeah, I would definitely employ that trick.
That's good. I'm going to borrow that one. That's good. So let's go down we'll start with you, Mick, but let's talk a little bit about how you've been able to use your cat as a platform to talk beyond just your own situation, but also work with other organizations, be able to spread a bigger message beyond, and talk a little bit about who you've worked with and some of the things that have come out of that.
Sure. Yeah. The big, I guess, partnership that I have is with the National Federation of the Blind, and that is the largest organization of blind people in the world. It is based in Baltimore. The mission is really the full integration of blind people into society on the basis of equality. And they discovered Oscar's story via 2 children's books that I self-published that feature Oscar as a protagonist. They love the idea that Oscar is a very capable blind hero, but he is not necessarily exceptional in any sort of way, and he's just the right role model. He basically shows that blindness is not what should define you. And they love the books. They kind of helped us with our project of inclusiveness by allowing the books to be turned into Braille, and we can sell them on our website for the exact same price that we sell the print versions for. So that was the first part of the partnership. I started working a little bit more with the organization and another organization called Storytime from Space, which actually launches books to the International Space Station. And Oscar's second space-themed book is actually blasting off for the International Space Station tomorrow on a SpaceX rocket. It'll be read likely in the first quarter of next year by an astronaut or a crew member, and this is broadcast to classrooms across the world. The really cool thing is that there's a series of 9 experiments that are going to be kind of loosely based on this book, and they will illustrate how a scientist or an astronomer can study effectively some properties of the universe without relying on visual information. So it's really a way of motivating and encouraging blind and visually impaired kids across the world to pursue whatever their dreams may be, whether they're science careers, and getting them into the kind of the STEM fields and academics. So it's really cool that this developed in such an organic way in this manner, because we also get to now take Oscar to different Braille reading programs and camps, interact with blind kids across the state of Washington, since we're in Seattle, and even beyond. So just shows how you can kind of step outside of the realm of just living in the pet world and really impact people in a big way too with the same story.
That's great. Simone, you want to talk a little bit about, I'm certain you've had people, other kids that have cancer, that have other challenges that have approached, and really thinking of your daughter as an inspiration. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page called Smiles for Scarlet that is set up, and she has around 22,000 followers, which compared to Lil BUB's probably nothing, but she's really popular in Australia for some reason. The Aussies love her, but she is a huge inspiration to a lot of people. I've had comment to me, send me private messages or whatnot, just letting me know, that they're gonna try to get through one more day because, Scarlett did. And to see them together, we actually went viral after last year's CatCon. It wasn't entirely a great thing because a lot of people thought that everything was photoshopped, so that was really frustrating. But she was able to get on a lot of different news stations, and we were able to get the word out there about childhood cancer, which has been a huge opening for us to talk about like how underfunded it is and how it's not actually rare, and help a lot of kids out there that have gone through similar things. So yeah, it's been a huge help.
That's wonderful. Michael and Mikhail, do you want to talk a little bit about just how you've been able to kind of talk a little bit about kind of being perfect in your own way and reaching other audiences? I know you spoke to this a little bit in your introduction, but.
Yeah, so as we mentioned earlier, we have this message of looking different doesn't mean you can be fantastic, inspired, especially from your little brother.
Yeah.
And it was very clear to us when we got this opportunity and got Monty into our lives that we needed to do something with this, spread this universal message. And it has been an amazing journey the last 4 years. We have used Monty's face to spread happiness around the globe through the internet, through our Facebook page and Instagram.
Yeah, and it was all by a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, people just like told us, hey, you should just, our friends told us, like, you should just make a Facebook page for Monty. And then Bored Panda, I think, shared him, and then it just went crazy.
And today
yeah, and then we took the opportunity to just spread happiness and, like, you know, I really want, you know, people to, I really want people to feel like they are perfect, no matter what, no matter how they are and what they look like.
And actually we have had many people writing us, people with Down syndrome, missing a breast from cancer, it can be various things, and it's really touching for us to realize that this means the world to these people. Our posts make their day. It seems so weird, and we are so amazingly grateful to be part of this, because I think that if you sit on something that can bring happiness, and today we have the internet so it can be spread very fast, right? We have some kind of duty on spreading this. If we can make people happy, we definitely should do.
Yeah.
So we made a website. We're selling cat jewelry with looking like cat and paws and so on,
Monty jewelry.
and Monty jewelry and Monty merchandise. And donating from every sale to charity, also trying to keep this good spirit and try to give people something that have meaning, so they can have a physical thing to also remember this message.
Yeah.
That's great. So we're going to have time for a few questions here. So I'm going to ask Mike one last question, but we have a microphone right down here up front. Daphne's down there. Raise your hand. So if you'd like to ask a question, please come down now while I'm asking this one last question to Mike, but come down to the mic if you have a question for any of our panelists. So lastly, Mike, so not all of us will have a special needs cat, but most of us will have an aging cat that we'll need to take care of. So do you have some advice that maybe can apply, of taking care of a special needs cat, that it could apply to almost everybody?
Absolutely. I think, you know, it goes without saying that your cat is your family. And I think maybe some people don't see it, you know, go as far, but, you know, we get a lot of messages about, hey, share my GoFundMe, hey, you know, oh, you know, my pet got hurt and all this stuff. And there's a lot, and it's great that you can, you know, raise money online. But the most important thing is you know, we've got kids, we put money away, we have insurance, you can get pet insurance for your pet, but treat your pet like your family. So I've got, like I said, 3 cats that are totally healthy. They're like, I've had them, all my cats since kittenhood. They're now getting up to 15. One of them's 24 pounds. He still like jumps up to get his food and he's great. But I know that one day he is going to have issues, and all of our cats are. So I think the Roscoe. Papa's trying to talk, Roscoe. Hey, bub. So I mean, the most important thing is treat your pet like your family, and it's hard. If you couldn't hear, he says, "I need Papa." So I'm sorry, buddy.
He can come up.
Can you just bring
Hey, Roscoe, you want to come up here?
Please.
Here, I'll put Bubba down. He calls her Bubba Cat. So hey, Roscoe.
So we have a question. Come on up to the mic.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Roscoe.
He just touched on cat insurance, and a lot of people don't know that you actually can get insurance. My question is, how much of the special needs are actually covered, and you know, how much out of pocket to expect, or what insurance do you recommend, that kind of thing? So.
Did you hear that? So they're asking, like, with insurance, how much of the special needs is covered, how much is out of pocket? I think for any of you.
I can, you know, from what I understand, when I looked into pet insurance, that pre-existing conditions were covered, and that I only briefly looked into it, and honestly, I didn't end up getting pet insurance. And to be honest, I don't know why. I suggest that people do look into it. And when I did look into it, it seemed that the cost was the same regardless of special needs pets or not.
We can only talk for how it is in Denmark, so
Sure.
I guess that would
I'm
not
sure it's
work.
great.
It is pretty great.
Do you have another question?
Okay. Is this a good distance?
Yes.
Like between me and the mic? Okay. I got a question for Mike. Besides osteopetrosis and polydactyly, is that what it's called? Like, does Bub have any other conditions? Because whenever I watch her videos, I hear her, like, usually making this strange noise, like if she has trouble breathing. Like, does she have a problem breathing, or is that fine?
She doesn't. So, yeah, you know, we get a lot of messages. Bub is like one in an infinity cat, and everything about her is strange. And Bub gets like regular visits, probably every 2 to 3 months. Anything goes wrong, I call my vet. Poor guy. But I mean, if we want to talk about all this stuff, so she has a wonky eye. She has a wonky eye forever. I've had her eyes tested a whole bunch. There's nothing wrong with her eye. She's just from space. That's what happens. Traveling all the way, and eye gets wonky. But if sometimes she did sort of have dry eyes, so we sometimes put some drops in it. She has one toe that grows this crazy fungus, and it gets really big, and it's nuts, and I don't know what to do, and I call him every time, and we break this stuff off of it. We don't know, probably some kind of space fungus. And so we've considered we possibly might have to remove that toe. Her breathing is totally fine. If you've seen a pug or a Boston Terrier, they sound like crazy little monsters. Well, Bub's a lot like that. She's looking to start a fight. So her breathing is totally fine. Naturally, we've looked. She gets x-rays done about once a year to check on the progress of her bone condition, and everything's actually looking great. We check her heart and her lungs. If you want to know the real deal, we just recently got an x-ray. Thankfully, her bone condition is not progressing. Her heart is slightly enlarged, but they don't think it's a problem. She does have a very strange, large bone growth on her jaw, which has been concerning for us. It doesn't cause her any pain. They don't know what it is. It's probably something from space. But thank you for the question. Her only serious issues is that she pees everywhere, she gets constipated, and has a little bit of trouble moving around. Well, not too much trouble.
We have time for one last question.
So my question is, I got a cat that actually was born with her eyes attached to the back of her head. So she is mainly blind, and I want to look into doing an outreach program showing people how that special needs cats can be normal and they are rambunctious as normal cats. How would you guys recommend going about that?
One thing I will say is it is a bit tough to hear questions on stage because there's no monitor. Did everyone hear that?
Did you hear?
Half of it. Did you hear it? Can you repeat it for us?
I only heard about half of it. Would you mind repeating it one more time? Just lean into the microphone a little bit closer.
Basically, we have a cat that she was born with her eyes attached to the back of her head, and so she can't see. So she is mainly blind, we think, but she has everything normal. She's rambunctious. I want to look into showing people that she is just as normal as everybody else. And after hearing your story about how you do Braille readings and whatnot, I think that's really interesting. How would you guys recommend going about spreading the word that there are conditions about cats that a lot of people don't know about? Because my vet has never seen a cat born with her eyes attached to the back of her head.
Who wants to jump in?
Okay. Well, it was again a little hard to hear, but I heard, I think, most of it. But really, I think as far as your concern is what do you do to spread awareness and use your pet to do so. I definitely think it should start with social media because it's just, the easiest thing to do, and there are a lot of tools that you have in order to do so, and you just have to be kind of creative and kind of building that audience base. But that is probably the best thing you can do, is just showcase by chronicling the life of your cat and showing how normal the cat is or what special needs it may have and what you do to meet those needs. I think also, educators in a lot of settings will like to have classroom visits, so it's something that you can put together a proposal that you can take to a local school, for example, and see if that's something that you can do, make a classroom visit to discuss the specific case that you have. And you may have some positive feedback, but really, every single person kind of follows a different path through all of this, so it's just kind of a matter of trial and error to see what's successful, but I definitely suggest social media as a start.
And lots of hashtags.
Yeah,
All
lots
of them.
cats.
Blind cats, cats of Instagram, cats of Facebook. Just do it all, because that's what people search for.
Yeah.
So if you cover it all, you're going to get a lot more people coming in.
Thank you.
All right, we are at our conclusion. So I just want to say personally how honored I am to be on stage with each of you, and you truly are inspiring and special people. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you for sharing your stories, and thank you all for being here, and enjoy the rest of CatCon.